welcome back to another episode from the Space Tomatoes crew. Yeah, so we're here. We're doing things. Just a note for everyone out there: you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Give us a like, give us a thumbs down if you don't like us. Leave a comment and hit that subscribe button. It helps, it helps the algorithm put us out there a little bit more so other people will find us. Maybe they'll find us interesting. Maybe they'll hate us. Either way, maybe we get another comment. It'll be cool.
Or don't, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I don't really care. So how you been, dude?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah?
Yeah. Just,
What are you up to?
Nothing really. It's been consistently in the 90s every day. So, welcome to Florida. We got a little bit of rain today, which was a little bit of a relief. Not much, but yeah, no, it's been getting up like 95 or so. So it's you don't want to do too much outside.
No. And you're like, yeah, I don't know, it's cold everywhere else.
Yeah. I took on a little side project. So we had this side door on our house that attaches to our laundry room, and it's been leaking a little bit for a while, and I just kind of put it off. And then we got a pretty good rainstorm, and like it blows water in the crevice or whatever. So I had to reseal. I dug the old caulking out and resealed the whole door and everything. And actually, I figured out how to. It never actually closed quite right since we put it in like 10 years ago. And so I watched some videos, learned how to adjust hinges. So now I'm like a YouTube expert on adjusting hinges, and it opens perfect now. I don't know why I didn't do it like 10 years ago. I feel like an idiot, but
because you didn't know about it,
I guess. So I kind of want to get that set for the hurricane season, because that rain, it can ruin a lot of stuff. It comes blowing in there. Last time, the hurricane, I put tape on the outside of the door where between the I don't know, what do you call it, the frame and the door itself, and that worked good enough, but that's not really practical.
You can do that. I saw a lot of people using that foam insulation.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to work really well, apparently.
Yeah, this was just like a little tiny gap right where the sill plate at the bottom, and then the side deal, and just a tiny little crack, but it should be all good now. No problems.
Very cool. Very cool. So yeah, I've been editing.
Editing.
A lot.
Nice.
A lot of editing.
I kind of recall telling you that's the funnest part about doing any kind of production like that.
Yeah, it's so fun. Some of it can be, some of it's kind of interesting and cool and fun, but when you're going through an hour plus of content and you're just like, grind, let me re-listen to that one little part. Well, re-listen slower, a little bit more. Let me expand that in. Oh, no, there it is. Let me take that little teeny piece out. Okay, cool. Now let me re-listen to it. Ah, crap, it's not quite enough. Let me just a teeny bit more clipping. All right, there we go. Okay, and you just over and over and over and over and over. And it just takes time is really what it is. It's a little bit annoying. I found a couple of plugins that kind of really help. And I think the Archangel podcast, which we did on Monday, for anyone watching this, it is the hell day is it? Oh, it's Thursday, May 22nd. So on the Monday previous to this day, we had a guest on, Archangel, another guest from the War Dragons community. And that episode I've been doing in Premiere Pro, which is got a huge learning curve, right? I mean, you can do some very simple stuff pretty easily in there, but doing multi-camera edits and merging multiple files together and having them drop out in the middle and then having to piece them back together, so instead of just one video file per person, it's two audio files, and for each person with 3 people on there, and it's It's work, man.
It
It is
sounds
work.
like it.
There's no question.
It sounds
Yeah,
like it.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, all I had to do was do one audio only thing, and I remember
yeah.
that was like a pain in the neck. And then
Oh, yeah,
you got people hassling you like, when's the next one coming out? And I'm like, come on, man, I got like it's work here. I can just
right?
imagine like all the video and stuff. Like it's a lot more complicated.
Yeah, it can be, and trying to get some of the, right now I'm just doing very basic color grading and things like that on the videos, and it's a lot, but I guess the big benefit there is I am learning something new, so that's pretty cool. And what I've seen so far, me doing it in Premiere just right out of the gate, is way better, at least in my opinion, way better than what we've been putting out so far. So
Yeah.
hopefully over time that'll get better and better, and I'll learn more shortcuts and more tips and little tweaks that I can use to make that flow a little bit better, and life will be good.
I mean, it can't get any
And I keep
worse, right?
noticing, I I hope not, but hey, every once in a while something may go south and it might get a little worse for an episode or something or whatever. But I'm going to strive to get us into a place where we're putting out you know top quality production stuff.
I'll tell you what. If somebody doesn't like it, they let's put 100% money back guarantee on the program. If you don't like it, you can have your money back, whatever you paid for
I don't know about that, man. That sounds a little risky there.
it.
Yeah,
It's
five
worth
percent
exactly what you paid for it,
25% back. If you don't like this, we will give you 25% of the money you paid to listen to this
right?
back. In other words, nothing,
Exactly.
because it's free. So, but yeah, it's been fun though. I gotta say, some of it, I mean, I like learning new things, and this is certainly new, and it's very broad and very deep in features, right? So I know that I'm just barely scratching the surface,
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's
but
interesting
you know,
meeting new people. I definitely want to looking forward to when we expand the other areas, I guess, of interest. We started out in the War Dragons gaming community, so we're kind of taking care of those people.
well,
Gonna.
yeah, and there's a lot of good stories and a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
good camaraderie, things. It's just it's an easy fit. People like it, and I'm happy to do it for now. And I don't mind continuing to do it. I just like that to be a part of, not the main focus.
Yeah, everybody has their story. That's the interesting part, and I like to hear it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been fun. The scheduling again. That's been less challenging now. People are kind of very interested in finding a slot and committing to that slot and actually being there, um, barring any issues. And I think part of that is just getting more content out and
Mm-hmm.
having other people tell them, "Oh no, man, I had a great time. It was fun. We just talked. It wasn't like a big thing." Because I've heard people say they were very nervous about coming on, didn't really know, well, what am I going to say? I don't know, how am I going to sound? Don't worry about it. Look, you're going to be just fine. And I have some mad noob editing skills, so I can make you sound really minorly better than you do, and I can make video look like a tiny bit better and as well.
Oh,
So,
can,
but I can cut stuff.
can you
That I can do. I can cut.
can you do like some de-aging stuff?
You know, Not yet, but I have been playing a little bit with animation, which is really interesting to me. But yeah, I'm not. That's going to be like, I put it away. I started playing with it. I'm like, oh, and then I started getting frustrated, and I was like, okay, this is off course for right now. So let me drop that for now and just go back to what we're really here to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, anybody that's interested in coming on, I understand that there's a little bit to be anxious, maybe a little bit about, but not really. We're not out to get anybody. We're not out to give you any trick questions or put anybody on the spot. And even if you did say something by accident that you want to take back, we always have the power to edit things. Or not me. So I don't do any editing, but that guy over there,
Not
he
me,
he can do
not
that.
me. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, we can easily edit things out, and there was some concern with Ark because of the creator's faction, and he's like, I have to be really careful. I'm like, don't worry about it. We're not trying to, we don't want to push those edges, right? We're not looking at, we stay friendly, conversational, and fun. It's this should be a fun experience. And so far, every single person has said, "I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. I'd be happy to do it again." So if you're interested in coming on, leave a comment, tell us about yourself, do something, or I don't know, just leave an emoji or something. I don't know.
Is anybody out there interested in hearing the wives of war dragons? Particularly like Mrs.
Ooh,
LX and Mrs. Havok. We have the equipment that's been kind of talked about a little bit, but if anybody would like to hear that, maybe drop a comment about that.
that's a good one right
Hey,
there. Yeah, that would be
that one
interesting.
scares me. That one makes me anxious because I just like sometimes she just drops bombs on me. I don't even know what she's gonna say.
Cut, 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 cut.
Right, right. Oh man, what am I getting myself into?
I think it would be a fun one right there.
Fun for everybody
Um,
else, probably not quite as fun for me.
I think you'd be all right.
But
You live with her, right? I
I,
mean, so
I'm sure she would really enjoy it.
I think she would. And my wife is a little nervous about it, and I'm like, come on now, really? What's to be nervous about?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're just talking with friends.
Yeah, no, everybody's nervous at first. It's weird, even just hearing your voice, like in the playback at at the beginning, is something you got to get used to, and until you do, it's just weird. Or even myself, like so my wife will I can, like I'll be doing something and I'll hear your voice or my voice on the TV, and she's, watching a podcast, and I'm like, it's kind of weird to me having that, like on the TV. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, no, without question, right? I mean, it's definitely a little off-putting.
Mm,
Um, I've heard mine before, so it wasn't as weird.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess if you really wanted to get used to that, call yourself from someone else's phone and leave like a voice message,
Mm-hmm.
and then listen to it. You know what I mean? It's what you sound like to everybody else. That's what we all hear from you, and nobody's ever thought it was weird before. You just think it's weird
Mm-hmm.
because you haven't heard that particular perspective.
Yep. Yep.
But it definitely can be off-putting. You're like, wait, do I sound like that?
Yes, you do. Do I look like
Yes, you
that?
sound
Yes, you
exactly.
do.
Yes, yes. I wasn't shocked about that part. I'm like, yeah, still pretty sexy, so it's all right.
Oh man.
I see why my wife married me.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. I was a little disappointed the other day. You and I were talking after we recorded, and she wouldn't even come in to say hello.
Well,
Terrible.
we got to get her, ease
You
her
got to get
in,
her over that shyness.
surprise. Either that or just surprise her. I'll plug into my laptop and I'll bring it up to the bedroom, wake her up one morning. Hello, you're live on air with the Space Tomatoes podcast. She would kill
Maybe
me.
you need to
That would be it.
get her a 12-pack of that chick beer that I like.
There
And
you
trick
go.
her.
There you go. Get her pretty liquored
There
up,
you
and
go.
yeah, that'd do it. That'd do it for sure.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
I don't think I can drink that stuff. So we had a couple of those left over. I had one the other day, and then like my psoriasis broke out. So I'm like, nah, maybe I shouldn't have that. So we got like 3 or 4 in the in the fridge still. Try to pass them
Yeah,
off when people come over to visit. Hey, I got something for you.
it's one of those. It's the same thing like vacation.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's what it is, right? Just do it. Special occasions, man. That's the gig. That's kind of the way we've been treating it as well.
Yeah.
Although, be honest with you, this weekend, I don't know, I've been craving a tumbler of whiskey, so I may break one out and have myself some whiskey.
There you go. Everything in moderation, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when did I have whiskey last?
I have no idea.
When did I have a drink last? Probably a month ago. I don't know, month and a half,
What's that stuff you
5
left
weeks.
here? That whistle
Month.
pig? Is that whiskey?
Oh, did I leave the whistle pig?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Yes, that is whiskey. That's good
All
stuff.
right.
Yeah, it's tasty, tasty.
Yep, it's here. It'll probably be here
Yeah,
till the end of time.
you might like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
For you, I would pour like maybe like that much in a glass and then double it with water
Oh, okay.
and then throw a big ice cube or something in there.
Mm.
If you cut it down really really nicely, it doesn't burn at all and you get the flavor. I like it. It's kind of a smoky, oaky, you know, taste.
I
A
don't I
little
don't
bit of
have one of those
rye.
like bong things like Lumberhead though. Does that make a difference?
You don't need it. You
I don't
don't need it.
I don't have those
That's just extra.
I don't have those special round ice cubes either. So
Yeah, that's just extra.
uh,
That's just
nice.
extra.
We do have an ice maker though. We finally fixed that on the refrigerator. That thing hadn't been
Oh,
working for
nice.
years.
Yeah, ours crapped out on us about, I don't know, 6 months after we got our brand new fridge.
Mm-hmm.
Come to find out, Samsung fridges and their little crappy ice maker
Yep.
are crap, and they break for everyone. And so we called up, and they're like, "Well, there's no service departments out there. We'll send you the parts if you like to do it yourself."
All right.
And I'm like, "Send me the parts." And they're like, "Okay." And now I have parts. I'm not going to do that myself.
Yeah, maybe
I don't
I'll do it
care.
for you when I come visit. I like that stuff.
I don't care enough about it. That's the whole thing. We're not going to use it. You know what I mean? It's just the problem is the way that it's made. And so
Mm,
you can put a new part on it, and it's just going to do the same damn thing.
that's true.
3 months later, because the problem with it is it's like it's kind of like the old ice box inside of the fridge.
Oh, it's in
You
the
know what I mean?
fridge. That's the problem.
It is exactly,
That's the
and that is
problem.
exactly the problem. And so it'll kind of melt the ice a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and then it gets melted over the tines that are supposed to eject the ice,
Yep.
and then it can't eject the ice, and then it just keeps dribbling water in there to make more ice, and then you got to pull the thing out of there with force and put like 3 cups of boiling water in there and close it up, and then just keep doing that. Meanwhile, you're heating up your fridge, and it's like, so I'm not going to replace it. We just abandoned the ice maker inside of our fridge, and now we have a little ice maker that sits on the counter.
Yeah, the ice maker in the fridge deal, that's a horrible, horrible design choice.
Yeah, trash,
Yeah.
absolute trash.
Mm-hmm.
I get the space saving idea and the want to do that, but it's a trash idea. Terrible.
Mm.
Well, how's your garden? Is everything kind of dormant now, or are you guys still growing
Yeah, we shut
things?
down
Or
a couple beds for the season and just kind of covered them over, and we're just letting them chill until the fall comes around. There's a few tomatoes left, not much. We do got
yeah,
like 3 pineapples though. They kind of came out of nowhere. The uh,
nice.
the bananas are growing. They shot up a couple new pups, so that's good. So yeah, we actually had the bananas fruit right before we had that big freeze. So not a real good
Mm,
choice for them. We ended up losing those bananas, unfortunately. The
yeah.
the blackberries are just about done. There's one or two left on there, but they were done. So those were great. I love those. I wish we had more. Um,
I know a guy.
blueberries are kind of done now. Everything else, we
Hmm.
do have. I showed you some pictures the other day. The spaghetti squash. So we have like
Mm,
7 or 8 of those, maybe 9. They're getting quite large. Like a
you don't want them to
small
get too
football
big.
size, probably, that big.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you don't want them to get too big.
No, they're ripening up on there. So I enjoy those. Those are good.
Oh, they're tasty and they're
Mhm.
great. Like we're the no carb type of thing. You make spaghetti squash, and look, I'm just gonna level with you. Even if you like al dente pasta, you probably are going to want to cook your spaghetti squash a little bit more than the people that say al dente, because it will literally be crunchy. Um, it's not bad. It's just off-putting. That being said, cook them well. I like them to be, less resistance when I'm chewing on them. More like I expect spaghetti to
Right.
be. But yeah, you cook those things up with just a little bit of salt and pepper and some olive oil,
That's exactly
and
how we do it. Yep.
yep, and then you just fluff out the strings and throw that on a plate or in a bowl and put some spaghetti sauce over that for us,
Mhm.
and it's like eating pasta. You know,
Yeah.
it's really good.
For those that
Only
haven't done it,
good
it
for you.
is a little bit difficult to, you cut it lengthwise, and it is a little hard. It's like,
Yeah,
don't chop your hand off. Like, like the first time I did, I'm like, "Man, this is, like, harder than it should be." And,
yeah. Pro tip on that: if you've got one that's exceptionally hard, which a lot of them tend to be, not all, put it in the oven. Right? I think we do our oven at 400 for spaghetti squash. Put it in the oven whole, and just put it in there for 5 minutes. Rotate it 5 more minutes. Pull it out, and then try and cut it. And it's usually a lot easier to cut.
oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Because otherwise, yeah, it can be like trying to cut through a rock.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then you just scoop the guts out of the seeds out of the middle, right? And, we sprinkle it with, olive oil and salt and pepper a little bit and just leave it in there. I don't know, what do you do, like 30 minutes or something like that? It
No, 30 minutes. 30 minutes is going to turn al dente. So what I do is what I'll typically do is when I cut them in half, I'll actually take that stem part
Mhm.
and I'll just make a little notch and pull that out.
Oh, okay.
And then there's a little hole there that'll allow some of the steam to escape. So you don't have to try and poke through the top of the dang thing, which is a
Alright.
nightmare, right? Then when you go to cook them, I just put parchment paper down on a baking sheet, and I do the olive oil, light drizzle. You don't
Mhm.
want a heavy drizzle. You don't want a lot of salt because it will make more moisture and it can turn them real mushy. But lightly coat them and then turn them upside down on the parchment paper. And I do about 45 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes that way. And then I'll test it. And if I can push my fork, you want to turn it over, right? You're not
Right.
trying to test the skin. The skin is hard, it will stay pretty tough. Turn it over real quick with some tongs. You'll know if it's pretty close to ready when you go to grab it with tongs and it kind of mushes in. But turn it over, take a fork, and just a couple of areas just push straight through, right? And if you can push down into the meat pretty easily, then you're done.
Mhm.
If it's still got a good amount of resistance, or a bit of resistance, then I flip it back over, give it another 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or something like that, and check it again. So anywhere from 45 to an hour is where I like them. But if you want that al dente, crunchy thing, about 30, 35 minutes is about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this, privately, but, if you don't eat pasta, it's pretty good. Like, I mean, I don't think it's quite like eating pasta. It's a little bit different,
No.
but, yeah, like, we never eat pasta anymore, and it's actually really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, it really is an amazing substitute for that.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not pasta, right? You're not going to go out there if you're expecting pasta. It's not going to be what you want it.
Mhm.
If you are on a no carb diet, it is awesome because you know, I mean, just a bowl of spaghetti sauce is kind of, right? But you put this stuff in there and it gives it that, noodly kind of texture and everything else. And it's not pasta, but it's close enough to where, it feels like you're eating pasta, and it's tasty
Right.
and it's healthy. It's
See,
good for you.
I like mine just with like a little bit of butter and salt on it. My wife likes the sauce, and we just actually went through our pantry with the sauces that we had on it. And man, you gotta be like super careful about like if you're watching that stuff about what's in food because
Oh, yeah.
probably 3/4 of the sauce that we had on the shelf. I mean, like the second ingredient in it is either high
Sugar.
fructose corn syrup, worst case, or just sugar, or some derivative of that. And like, and it seemed like the cheaper stuff has the more sugar in it, and the
Yeah.
more expensive stuff, like, doesn't. I mean, fortunately, we have the homemade stuff too, which we know exactly what's in it. Which like we
Yep.
prefer to use that. This is just kind of stuff that we've had laying around for a while, so we just kind of we've actually had like all our old pasta boxes. I mean, pasta lasts quite a while as long as the bugs don't get into it, or weevils or whatever. Like we don't have a problem with that. But we've been making that for the chickens, and they seem to really really like it just to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Mixing it, with the sauce and the some kidney beans that we had laying around and stuff like that. And they seem to really enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. They'll love that stuff. And yeah, you are right. That's why I just don't use any pre-made sauces,
Mm-hmm.
because there's just too much chud in there,
Yeah.
and natural flavorings. What are those from? It's natural, but there's a lot of natural things in this on this earth that I have no desire to stick in my
I mean,
mouth,
dog crap's natural, right?
Exactly, right? And I'm not saying it's that, but it could certainly be something that if you found out what it was, you
Mm-hmm.
would be like, I've been eating that. And yeah, you have. Same with natural colorings and things of that nature. You just make it. It's so easy. You just put tomatoes in a pot, right? With some meat, whatever meat you want. Throw some seasoning on it, some oregano, a little bit of thyme, a little bit of basil, maybe some rosemary if you want that. And you just cook it and simmer it for, you know, 6 hours or so. I do about 6, 8 hours. Just start it in the morning. It's real easy. Keep it on the lowest low and keep it covered for a good 4 or 5 hours. Let those flavors meld without thinning it. Take that lid off and let it go for another couple hours, and it'll thicken up nicely. No sugar, no preservatives, no chemical additives, no, seed oils, no blah. Just pure, real food,
Right.
And, we even like, we'll take tomatoes, especially near the end of the season when we're just getting tired of them. We'll just fill, containers with tomatoes and throw them in the freezer. Now that sounds weird because when you pull them out, they're not going to be any good to slice or to eat like that. But what they are really good for is just plop them in the Vitamix and crank that bad boy up. And now you've got, you know, basically, crushed tomatoes. You've got a tomato sauce without any, thickening or chemical, whatever, right? It's just, you can use that, just dump that directly in your pot with your meat and your seasoning. And now everything you've done, what the heck's going on with it,
Yeah. No.
and it's tasty.
Information is power for sure, and it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
to find out everything that's in there, and a lot of those labels, they're actually misleading. I found out one the other day. Not We don't really eat them, but sugar free Tic Tacs. Do you know what sugar free Tic Tacs are made of? 95%
Sugar?
sugar. But because they're less than half a gram, they don't have to put on the label that they have that less than half a gram of sugar in it. So it's almost the
It's
entire
sugar
thing is
free.
sugar, but they're legally allowed to label them as sugar free. Isn't that crazy?
That's it is.
And there's a lot of
It
labels
is.
like that. It's just and some of the names of the ingredients, you don't realize what they are until you do a study on them, and then like that's what that is, really.
Yeah, that's like our little rude awakening uh, to Costco, and one of the things we enjoy is dried fruits. So just dehydrated, apricot, etc.
Mhm.
And we got a bunch of this stuff, and like out of the 3 bags of stuff we got, only one of them didn't have sugar in it. Why is there sugar in fruit? There's already sugar there.
Right.
Why are you adding sugar to dehydrated stuff, which already like maximizes the sugar that's in the fruit? You know what I mean? Less fruit, same amount of sugar. It just kind of, condenses it all. And then they add sugar,
Mhm.
and it's like you don't think about this, right? But it's everywhere. And one of the reasons it's there is because it's got, very addictive properties to it. So it'll keep you coming back to eat more.
Absolutely. And they get sneaky with the no sugar added label too. It's
Hmm.
you know, maybe they're not putting extra sugar, but there's, like tons of it. And like, so we had this thing with cranberries, dried cranberries. And
Yep.
I had been getting those for a while. And for whatever reason, I decided to go read the comments on them, the reviews. And the, the general consensus was that there's no way, because there's no sugar on the ingredients, but there's no way that these don't have sugar in them, because everybody was saying, cranberries are kind of like tart, and these
Yeah,
are
yeah.
like, very sugary, and they make your fingers sticky when you pull them out of the bag. So I'm thinking there's something funky going on with the labeling on that, some kind of, misdirection, or even just flat out deceit. So like half the time I don't even trust what the labels say.
Yeah. No, I mean there is merit to that, right? And you just have to be real careful. Like
Hmm.
you said, sugar-free Tic Tacs, they're all sugar, but the reporting requirements is so low,
Right.
and maybe they're using a technique like that, like serving size is 3 cranberries. Well, there's a half, 0.45 of a gram of sugar per 3 cranberries. We don't have to report it.
I'd be willing to say it's something like that, to some kind of loophole that they've discovered, that they can, try to make it sound more healthy than it actually is.
Yep, yep,
And the
yeah.
the other thing that they do is they mess with the serving size on the back to make you think. I forget what it was. It was something that was like less sugar or whatever, but it was actually the same exact product as the full, regular product, but it's more money, but they just make the serving size less on the back of the package to make it seem like it has less sugar per serving. So, but it's just marketing crap. It's, like really, really kind of deceitful when it comes down to it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no question about it. It's a crazy, crazy mixed up world we're living in there.
Mm,
So I was listening to a thing earlier today, and they were talking about, how some international folks, and they were talking about how, Americans are really into their conspiracy theories. And I was like, hmm. So it's interesting because I guess it's not as prevalent elsewhere.
really?
Yeah, and one of the things I think they're what were they saying? Uh, yeah, I can't remember what the cause, or what they posited the cause would be for that. And I think some of it is just that kind of nature that Americans have, and I think it is something that we have that a lot of the world doesn't really have, which is that that American dream, that spirit of you can go do pretty much anything you want to if you set your mind to it, right? The kind of I'm a free human being thought, right? Is not true, but it's okay. You're free if you have the right permits, and the right whatever. But I was thinking about that a little bit too, and I was thinking a little bit further, and it kind of hit me. It's like, yeah, okay, well, maybe part of that is because of the freedoms that were originally established, right? And then some of the, effery that had, come to light, even like really early on in our history,
Mm,
and continues to come to light. And when you're in the know, you know that this stuff is going on, it makes it a hell of a lot more plausible that something funky is going on when things just don't seem to add up, right? And so I think it's more than just that American spirit, that idea, that commonplace feeling that we all kind of have, that yeah, we're free, we can do anything, whatever, right? And it is kind of built into us. But I really think part of it is because, you know just look at the list of crap that the powers that should not be, have done, gotten caught, never really paid a price for, and then continue to do this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, yeah, maybe we are conspiracy theorists, or we favor that kind of stuff, or we're more prone to it, or whatever the case may be. But maybe that's because there is so much of it, and it, just keeps coming up and comes to light. It's like, did you ever see that movie? Mel Gibson was in it. It's called Conspiracy Theory.
not that I can recall.
No, great movie, by the way. Great movie. But if you watch that movie, they're kind of trying to kookify, the guy and everything else. And don't get me wrong, some of it's a little wacky and kooky, but you start looking at that stuff, and those programs that they were talking about in that movie, like in the 80s, I think it was, in the 90s and 2000s, all came to light. Yeah, that's real. We actually did dose people with acid and try and brainwash them into becoming like, this asset or something,
Wow.
and do crazy stuff, right? And it's like, okay, so maybe that's why. Maybe it has nothing to do with our spirit. Maybe if that was coming to light for you in your particular area, your populace would probably be more like, yeah, well, they're doing it again.
So I mean, if something's not acceptable mainstream, and it's a little bit, like people don't want to believe it, but it's true, does that mean it's still a conspiracy theory, or does it mean
It,
it's the truth? I mean, sometimes
I think it
people just
depends.
don't want to accept it. They just would rather hear the lie, or whatever you want to call it, the accepted quote truth, when even if it's not the truth.
Well, I think it depends a lot on how you are to ideas that are not natural for you, right? If you are very prone to what's called confirmation bias, in other words, let's say you're a conservative, and you only watch Fox News, and you only listen to conservative talk, and you only pay attention to the narrative coming out of one side. Well, you're probably going to be less likely to tune in to any information that's counter or contrary to that. And on the flip side, if you're, one of I don't like the word liberal. I'm just going to say one of the Democrat leaning folks, and you're paying attention to MSNBC, and you're paying attention to the narrative of that party. You're going to be less prone or able to take in contrary information, right? And so I think a lot of it comes from that. You have people still, today, that will tell you, no, 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 that's not true. That's just all made up conspiracy. And it's like, okay, well, here, here's, a study on it. Here's an article on it. Here's the actual event in progress. Here's the, blah, 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 blah. And it's just proof after proof after proof. And, they're like, yeah, I'm not reading that stupid stuff. That's all conspiracy. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is in Nature, one of the if not the premier scientific rag, or this is from the New York Times, it's in Rolling Stone, it's in Fox, it's in whatever outlet, you know what I mean? It's well documented. Here's the person actually saying that this happened and they did it. And they just want to plug their ears and go, la 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 la, I'm not here, I. And I think there's a lot of that, and a lot of people want to stay in that little comfortable environment. And I guess it's, I hate to use this analogy because it's way overused, but the Matrix kind of really hit that. So when they go through and they're like, so some people are so hopelessly inured and so dependent on this system that they don't want to be out. They couldn't even, like, it would be such a shock to their system to entertain things that are contrary to their opinion. Um, and yeah, I think there's just a lot of that going
A
on,
lot a
right?
lot of that's by design, and
Hmm.
I don't think not everybody can see that, even if given the opportunity to. And I know it's difficult for people that especially older people that used to getting the
Yeah.
news, that like they 50 years ago you'd pick up a newspaper, and whatever you read in there was probably pretty close to being true. I'm sure there was some of that going on back then, but now it seems once you get hooked by that algorithm, whatever path that you kind of seem to veer towards, they take you separately on that path. And like for example, if it, like you were saying, a conservative type person, like they want to send you off, they'll give you the links to see the Fox News or those kind of programs. And the blue side, they'll send you the MSNBC or CNN or whatever, and they kind of try to keep you separate. And they just, I mean, it seems to me they want people to kind of be opposed to each other. It's like a manufactured,
Well,
kind of conflict.
they they have to have that. If they didn't have that, people might actually start focusing on the real
Mm,
issues. You know what I mean? If it weren't, it's going. I don't really want to get into examples, right? So I'm not going to. Not this time. Maybe we'll get into doing stuff like that at some point. But you know, uh, it's just, if you take a bunch of people, right? Staunch conservatives, staunch Democrats, you know, staunch red, staunch blue, and you take those people and you put them in a room and just say, look, you're not going to talk about politics. You're not, we're going to make sure everyone's dressed, in a way that doesn't scream that, right? Right. So, you put them all in a room and say, okay, you have to avoid talking about anything related to politics, any narratives or issues of the day or anything like that. You're here to discuss life and you know your homestead, your house, your likes, your dislikes of going out and what you like to do for fun. They'd all probably get along pretty nicely, and in fact some of them would end up becoming good friends. But the second you engage with that politics, they'll shut each other down and hate each other, literally viscerally despise that person that they were just getting along with, right? And so if you don't keep people divided, right, they will look at where is the real problem. And it also kind of, my opinion is, the system will cave in on itself, because people will just look at the clown show that's going on and go, I'm not taking part in this. This is ridiculous.
mm,
This is what my choices are. Are you kidding me? Like, seriously, there's 340 million people in this country and this is what you put up? I don't know.
right. I mean, it does affect you less if you don't even watch that stuff. It's amazing how little the news really matters to you when you don't watch it. I mean, like, things are going to happen anyway, and if you don't like involve yourself in that and take it, like make it personal for you, it has a lot less influence on your life. Not that I don't want to be
Y-
informed of things that are going, happenings, but I mean, so sometimes I think a lot of that stuff is just to get people riled up for whatever reason, and I'm not really
Well,
interested.
it 100% is, right? I mean, just look at the title of any news, headline, right? it is designed, if it's on Fox, it's designed to rile them up and make them hate the other side.
Mm,
If you look at it from MSNBC, it's designed to rile you up and, hate the other side. It's like, MSNBC does a news thing and they're like, the maiden's tale is coming to reality. Are you ready? And then on Fox, it's like, they're killing babies and, blah, blah, blah. We have to stop the madness, and it's just this whole system designed to keep people fighting each other.
right.
And the real purpose there is not what you think it is, right? The real purpose is to prop up and give, time and power to, the powers that should not be, in my opinion. Because if you weren't riled up about that, you'd be like, dude, nobody cares. I don't know why we're wasting time on this, and why are we doing this? This is ridiculous. So without that division, the whole thing kind of falls apart. If
Mm,
everyone got along, and we didn't hate the other side for whatever issue of the day we're going to present, you wouldn't be so tuned in. You'd probably be looking at it and going, wow. And then like our oldest just went to the DMV today. Oh boy, that sounds like so much fun. Had to make an appointment, had to wait months to get to his appointment.
really?
Showed up for his appointment on his appointment day, on his appointment time, 30 minutes early for his appointment. Still waited and waited and waited and
Wow.
waited and waited and waited. And then when he got up there, they were training a new person. Good. You need to train people, right? While the trainer is sitting there playing games or sending, chit chats on their little chat communications and stuff like this. And it's like the incomprehensible inefficiency that goes on in those agencies, government agencies, should piss everyone off. I don't care if you're blue, red, purple, green, yellow, orange. I don't care. You should be pissed off. You are paying for this. If you've ever walked into a government agency and been pissed off because you had to wait, you pay for that. You pay for that service and you can't get rid of it. You can't hire a different company. You can't do it through someone else. So anyway, yeah, woo, I'm all fired
Get
up
y'all
now. I
fired up
feel like I
there.
just
Ah.
shoved a habanero up my
So was
booty
he,
hole.
escorted out of the building by, the armed security there? If not, then he's, doing better than I did.
No, he's a lot more even tempered than I am. That's for sure. Because I would have lost my mind. I would have been like, look, I have an appointment. Why in the hell did I have to make an appointment, wait months to get to my appointment, show up early, and then wait hours to actually see someone?
Maybe we're just not as understanding as we should be. Maybe we should work on that.
No, no, that is not it at all. Right? It's just not. It has nothing to do with that. It just it's insanity to me. It's
It is kind
insanity,
of
right?
insanity, isn't it?
It is. It is. It just, it, I have to breathe for a moment here.
Do you want me to change the subject? I could tell a boring story. It's not that boring.
No, I'm happy with this subject. Honestly, I just get a little fired
You
up
just know
because
every time that happens, the ratings go way up because people wanna see you get fired up. They like it.
that's probably
That
true.
is what it
Yeah,
is.
Havoc rant.
They wanna see you
We
have
should.
like a brain hemorrhage on cameras one of these times. Of course, who's gonna edit if that happens? Who was that cartoon character that used to Yosemite Sam, like, smoking at the ears and stuff?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
kinda
sure.
like him.
That'd be me right there. Total smoke coming out, like little wisps of smoke coming out from under the headphones. That would be hilarious.
Maybe you should,
I'm gonna have
leave a
to.
bad Google review for for the DMV.
Right. Oh, you just gave me an idea. I think that's awesome. Awesome. Oh, goodness gracious, that would be good. Like a public review site for each location, every, experience. Just, come on. Let's
There
hear it.
probably aren't
Let's
going to be
do it.
that many good ones. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure some of the people that work there try hard, but I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure that look, I have no doubt that there aren't well-intentioned, well-meaning people that try. The problem is that the processes, the policies, and the, overarching idea behind all of this does not lend itself to being efficient, expedient, or friendly, even. It lends itself to you are the enemy, I am the good guy. And it's going to take a lot of time. And if we tell you it's going to be a month, expect it'll be 4 years.
Mm.
And it's just what it is, and it's just the way that whole system is set up and designed. It's like they created the DMV back in I don't know when, and they never once ever bothered to update or change or anything. Like, this is the same process and policy. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't doubt that they still use paper forms and then stamp something on there to make it official. And then they take it to an OCR scanner and scan that in. And then that gets printed out after it's OCR scanned to a much more readable paper format that they then ship off to another office that takes that paper and then OCR scans it in its better format into another format that they then box up and ship to some other office that then takes it and OCR scans it, makes digital copies of it, and then deletes them and files the paperwork. Right? That's that in my brain. That's about probably what goes on there. Right?
I have a couple workarounds for all that stuff. Some probably better than others. So there's option A. You can get one of those sovereign citizen license plates on the internet and just play the. I don't need any kind of paperwork to drive a car until they smash your windows out and drag you out the window. Or you can get a
Yeah.
horse. So you don't need a driver's
A
license
horse.
to drive a horse, right?
You do not, and they are legal on most public
I
roads,
mean,
most
I
places.
think in your state here you can actually get a DUI horse, but in North Carolina, I do not think you can legally get a DUI horse.
You cannot.
Yeah,
You
here you
cannot.
can.
In most places, you can't. In most places, you can't. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because the horse is the original Tesla. It's
Right?
self-driving.
Full self-driving.
It is. If you leave a horse to its own devices, it's going back to the barn. That's where it's going to go.
Nice.
Right? So, worst case, you slump over on the horse and you wake back up in the barn sitting on the back of a horse. Maybe. Or maybe you fall off along the way, but the horse will be back at the barn.
Next time I come up there, you're gonna have to give me some horse refresher lessons.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We can
It's
do
been a
that.
while.
Yeah.
They kind of intimidate me a little bit with their big horse teeth and their big stompy feet.
Yeah, the sharp fangs.
Yeah. Horses bite, man. That hurts.
What kind of horses you got? They do bite. And I should say, out of the 3 horses we have, only one of them has ever done anything like that.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure she's cured of that now, or mostly cured. But the other 2, you don't really have to worry about that at all.
That's good.
Yeah. Dude will nuzzle you. He'll, put his nuzzle on you and just like that, but he won't bite you.
You should start posting some pictures of all your animals. I'm sure people would like to see them.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I need to get a setup that I can take out with me.
Yeah, there you go.
And do something like that.
You got one, your phone.
Yeah, then I have to do a lot of editing. A lot of editing.
It's all good, man.
It's all good for you. I'm sure.
It's all good for me, is right.
You're like, yeah, I don't mind. Go ahead.
Oh, I had this thing figured out from day one. I'm just going to play dumb a little bit longer.
Yeah, well, we've got the solution. We'll get you all squared
Uh,
away, and by then I won't. I'll just be like, yeah, I got this. Don't worry.
right?
But the good news is I can teach you what I've learned,
Yeah, no,
so
that's good.
you can get better at that stuff too.
No, I'd like to know how to do
So
it. Kinda.
yeah,
I say that, but, probably not.
it is kind of fun. It really is. When you're doing something and it's working and you're getting things moving and things are happening correctly and it's looking good and it sounds good. It makes it fun, right? It's just when you get into those frustrating situations with like a bad audio file, or you've got a break in the video and you've got to stitch it back together and try and find an entry and an exit point, and all that kind of stuff, and syncing things up if they're different lengths due to whatever happened. That's where it's like it can be pretty frustrating.
Whatever you do,
And then it
don't
wasn't
tell
very
people.
helpful.
Like, when you learn a new skill, don't tell anybody about it, because then you're
Right.
automatically the
Hey,
guy.
dude, can
Like,
you,
"Hey, I know a guy."
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and then I was having the most frustrating time because my mouse, it's got junk under it or something. And so when I would click, it would either release the click instead of holding it,
Mm.
right? So if I click down on the left mouse, it would release it. And you've played in Audacity before. Imagine trying to, go back and forth between tracks and the damn thing won't hold on. And sometimes it double clicks on stuff and you're like, oh, I don't want to open that. I wanted to select that. But I got a new mouse today, so
Oh,
now it's
good.
clicky and oh my gosh, so much better.
Does it have a tail?
It does. I don't work off wireless stuff. I
Nice.
learned my lesson from gaming, and this stuff is pretty intensive. you know just I can't have the lag you know
No, that'll help
but it is
tremendously.
fun, and I
Y
found some good stuff. I created a pretty decent little animation. You'll see when I get the Sir Knight one out.
Oh, nice.
He wanted a special intro, and I was like, if it had been anyone else, I probably would have been like, no, I'm not doing that. But Sir Knight, I like the guy. He's good person, and so I said, okay.
Oh, good. I'll start messaging you, like, every couple hours asking if it's out yet.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if you could do that. Mm, that'd be great. And no, yeah, I think I'm just going to let people know that our common release time for these things is going to be on a Friday
Mhm.
at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, shorts will come out. We may release random things like this here and there in between cycles. We may clip things up and throw those out there as well. But the main episodes are going to be a weekly thing, right? I don't, at least at this point in time, I just don't see me having the time or the ability to get everything where I want it to be and get it released in a shorter form. And I'd rather commit to a weekly thing than to start releasing in 3 4 days and then start doing that and then have to wait 2.5 weeks for one. Consistency is what I'm going to try and go for as we improve and polish and get better, and things start flowing, and who knows if this thing ever becomes something that you know can pay bills. Then yeah, that may increase in frequency.
I just think we need to
But
expedite that, that equipment, acquisition for me, probably. That'd probably take a lot of stress off your plate, I'm sure.
it would help, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, no
Mm.
question. It's it. But like I said, I'm enjoying the learning aspect of it. And when I learn to do something new and I get it done, and then I look at it, I'm like, that's awesome.
I
I'm
made
so cool.
that.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so cool. Not I'm so cool. It's like, that's so cool. And look, I made it. Exactly. I made this. And
Mhm.
that's so much better than it was. So we'll see.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, if the Archangel edits go well, I think after that it'll be 100% Premiere and other, like Isotope is a huge thing, right? If we get really bad audio, that thing is it's a DAW for anyone that doesn't know what these things
I
are,
have
and
no idea what that is.
it's something audio. I don't remember what it
That's
stands
the
for,
file
but
format?
no, that's what the interface is called.
Oh,
the
okay.
The application Audacity is a DAW, DAW. Isotope is a DAW on steroids, and I mean, wow. So, I mean, you saw the difference in the screenshot I sent you between what Isotope looks like, and just from a screenshot compared to Audacity, it's a huge
Yeah, I
difference.
had no idea what I was looking at, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. It gives you not just the main, you know, the main noise on the channel,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like voice, right? But it literally shows a spectral analyzer that shows room noise and, environmental noise and all the other stuff. So you can see like all of the
That's
noise.
pretty cool.
It is. It is. Yeah. Makes it nice.
Hmm. So what else you got going on besides the editing stuff? Because it sounds like it gets you pretty busy.
Just work and the gardens and stuff. Right now we've got a turkey that decided to lay and sit inside of our high tunnel, which is now overgrown,
Mm-hmm.
and got to get tomatoes in that dang thing. But I'm not willing to lose, the few turkeys she'll probably end up, I mean, she'll probably hatch, out of, 12 eggs or so, she'll probably hatch out and 12, 14 eggs. I can't remember what she had. She'll probably hatch out about 7 or 8 of them. And out of those 7 or 8, like 2 or 3 will live,
Oh, really? That's
because
it?
turkeys, well, for anyone watching, turkeys are probably the dumbest bird that ever lived, and I have no idea how they've continued as a species, because they are just dumb. Like, when they're, day 2, 3 days old, they'll get themselves into a position where they are on their back, and that's it. They're going to die there.
Really?
They can't figure out how to flip over. Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea.
um they'll we had last year, no, maybe it was the year before, we had some that hatched, and we've got 2x4 wire, welded wire for like our dog fence and our garden fence. But the chicken coops have chicken wire around them, which is a much smaller hole, right? So you're talking about a 2x4 slat as opposed to a chicken wire hole. We lost a turkey because it tried to get in through the chicken wire, and its head went through, and it couldn't get through.
Mm.
But it couldn't figure out that it was stuck, and it just stayed there and died. And nothing was holding it in there. Went up, just pulled the little body right out. If it had just reversed,
Wow.
and like, oh, hey, okay, I'm cool. So they're very bad at living.
Talk,
It's sad,
talk
but
about dumb. That I gotta tell you what I
yeah.
did this week.
Oh,
Oh, so my wife went to get her blood work done, and I said, "Oh, I'll drive you there." Thinking, I'm doing a nice thing. We get back, we pull in the driveway. She gets out, I get out, I close the door. I left my thumb in the door as I closed the door, right on my thumb, smashed it.
oh,
But half a second delayed reaction, I was like in agony. It was pretty bad. It turned like purple instantly, and I put ice on it for a while, thinking it'll be all right. And then I start looking on the internet, like, what can you do to help relieve the pain? It was like throbbing. It felt like it was the size of like a grapefruit. It felt horrible. So I ran across this thing, trepanning, where we had drill a hole in something to relieve the pressure on it. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So,
Mm.
uh, so I'm watching these videos. You take like a paper clip and you heat it up red hot, and then you stick it through your thumbnail or your finger, whatever fingernail, like got hit, and it's supposed to relieve it. Like everybody says it's supposed to relieve the pain instantly, but like you gotta get over the fact of putting a hot poker through your fingernail. Like that's So I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So I get the paper towels out and I get the little lighter thing to heat it up, and then I start getting like sometimes I have panic attacks, and like I started having one right in the middle of that, and I'm like, maybe this is not such a good idea, but I kind of worked my way through it and did it anyway. Holy crap! I had no idea. Like there was a lot of pressure in there because it came squirting out like crazy. I'm glad I had like all those paper towels around, but let me tell you, it actually worked. It
Hmm.
the pressure was relieved almost instantaneously, and
Wow.
it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. It's just getting over that initial putting a red hot poker into you like on purpose. It's a little bit to overcome that.
Bit disconcerting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, now you know it works. So
I do. I'll
hopefully
probably
it never
forget it by
happens.
next time, but like
I doubt it.
that's my
It does
that's my
not sound like
stupid story
something
of the week.
yeah, that does not sound like something I would ever forget, but now you know if anything, hopefully it never happens again, but
Hopefully, I
if
don't
it
even know
does,
how it happened. It seems so stupid. I feel like an idiot. My wife's like, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, "I have no idea." Like, don't worry about how it happened. It just like
it
what does it
just did.
matter at this point? But it
Yeah, I
does make
probably would.
things quite a bit more difficult when you got like one less thumb to help you accomplish
Oh, yeah.
tasks.
Oh,
Like you
yeah.
never miss
Yeah.
your thumb until you don't have it anymore.
I probably would have just told my wife, "Look, you've lived with me for how long? And you're wondering how this happened?
Right?
Like, come on
Uh,
now."
It probably would have been easier if it was like a regular finger, not my thumb. That was the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I maybe, I don't know. I mean, I wonder, I think your fingers are more sensitive than your thumbs though, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think
I
so.
mean,
I
so
think
so
mine
like
are.
after I poked that hole, I mean, it feels like you smashed your finger in the door, but it doesn't feel like you put it in a bench vise and like left it in there with the handle cranked down. That's kind of what it felt like before. So I guess all that pressure building
Mhm.
up in there. But anyway, I can't advise anybody to try it, but like do it at your own risk. But maybe a doctor could do it for you as well if it's something you encounter.
Yeah, yeah. Make sure if you ever like nobody's suggesting you go off and do this, but
Oh no.
you have the information now. Just some sterilization, a little sanitization, and put something on it, right? And if you're going to do something like this, or like LX said, go see a doc.
Hmm.
They'll get you squared away. Probably they probably have a little tool like a
They
soldering
have a
iron,
little
just
cauterization pen that you could buy one on
yep.
Amazon for like $12. It's got it looks like a little like a pen with it takes a one AA battery in it, and it's got a little replaceable filament on the end. They call it like a thread. They use it in like sewing or something. The whatever, but you just press the button and it heats up the end of it, and they need that. But that's exactly the same thing they would use in the doctor's office. Or you could use a
Yeah,
paper clip if you're cheap like me and don't like going to the doctor.
yeah, paperclip, whatever,
Just
a
don't use the
nail, a
paper clip with
brad.
the rubberized coating on it. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, and don't use galvanized metal
Yeah,
either,
probably
right?
not.
That's very bad stuff.
Speaking of metal, you get your welder out yet? You done any welding? No,
No,
no, of course not.
no, but I got some stuff out of boxes, so whatever.
Nice, nice. Maybe you just need
Yeah,
more gear. Buy some more gear, and then you'll be ready for it.
no, I have everything I need at this point. I just need to go do it.
Mm,
Part of it is I do need to get I need to get a hand truck or something with pneumatic wheels because I mean you've been here. There's very very little even ground around here,
Yeah.
and that thing is
It's
heavy.
heavy.
And there's no way, I can't see myself trying to lug that all the way down there
Yeah, no.
and get it, plugged in and everything. So I'm thinking I'm going to get a heavy duty hand truck,
Mhm.
like maybe one of the ones that folds down into a long one too,
You can get one of those little
just
wagons
get
too,
one
they're
of
cheap
those.
enough. Like a
Yeah, get
gorilla
one of
cart or
those and then
something.
strap it on. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But so yeah, I'll get to it eventually. It's right now it's kind of low on the list. Right now I'm sitting there looking at my tomato plants that are, you know, big and need to go outside, and I don't have anywhere to put them. I mean,
Mm.
okay, let me take that back. I have all kinds of places I can put them, but there's not, there. I need they go in the high tunnel. And there's a very specific reason they go in the high tunnel. So one of the things tomatoes are very prone to is splitting, right?
Mhm.
And inconsistent watering. Excuse me. Inconsistent watering will cause them to split. So if you don't water them for a few days and they're fruiting, and then you water them heavy, you can get them to split. Well, even if you're consistently watering them and they're not in a covered space, and you live in an area, say North Carolina, where rain happens a lot, you can get a rain event for a day, 2 days, and every single tomato you have will split.
Yep.
Without fail, all of them will split. There is no protecting against this unless, you cover them so they don't get water in that way. But, so that's why we put them in the high tunnel. We also put peppers in the high tunnel on purpose. And a lot of that is just because peppers love heat, right? So the hotter the better for those guys, up to an extent, right? At some point they will stop fruiting and producing because it's too hot, but they'll come back and start when it cools down just a little bit.
Mhm.
So the high tunnel allows us to keep it hot for longer. So we'll have tomatoes and peppers all the way up through October, sometimes into November. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Which is it is nice, right? We get a really long season, typically from April all the way through October, sometimes November, for tomatoes and peppers and things of that nature. So, but the turkey is living there now, and if we go in there trying to prep beds, she's going to take off and abandon her clutch. Yeah, I really want those turkeys.
I don't know. You gotta let it work itself out, I guess, and then go in there, boot her out.
It is what it is. It is, there's no, they're just, I don't know, just turkeys. And we don't want to keep them pinned up, I mean, that's one way people, accommodate this kind of silliness is they keep them pinned up. And we don't want to. They cruise around the whole property. They do whatever they want. But the cool thing is they eat the ticks, they eat the bugs, they eat, grasshoppers. They'll eat all that stuff and keep that population really minimal, which is really nice. And it's also the main way they get food, So our feed cost for a bunch of really big birds is very low. Plus, they're cool because you can go out there and go do stuff like, "What are you doing?" And they'll all go, "What are you doing?" And I'm going to clip that in here, and it'll be
And
cool.
they
It'll
taste
be
pretty
fun.
decent, right?
I like them. I think turkey is yummy. It's pretty good. Turkey legs, turkey wrist, turkey thighs, turkey back, even. But my favorite's the neck. I like to keep a nice long neck on that sucker.
Really?
There's oh yeah, we put it in the smoker, and the neck, turns out to be crispy and just it's a really good. It's a our oldest was kind of freaked out about that because I grabbed it and started eating it. He's like, "Ew, dude, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Have you not ever had this?" And he was like, "No." "Here, try this." And he's like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Give it a shot. I promise you'll like it." And he took one bite and he was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so good." and you just start mowing it down. Now he like steals the neck. I should have never told him.
Yeah, I
You know,
can't say that it really
so
appeals to me very much. I've never had that experience of having a turkey neck myself.
oh, you're gonna try it. Well, I'm gonna do that. Maybe not turkey. Maybe I'll do it with chicken. But you're gonna try it, and I promise you'll
Maybe.
like it. And you'll like it. You will.
And this has been
It's
Turkey
really
Talk
good,
with LX and Havok.
right? Space
Space
turkeys.
turkeys. Can you do the gobble thing again? I'm not gonna do it. You're pretty good at that.
Well, I live with turkeys, so
Nice.
my wife says I am a turkey, so
Yeah. Maybe she's right.
she probably is. Yeah, it's amazing I made it this far in life without dying.
Well, say hello to her anyway for me.
And I will. And please tell Mrs. LX that I said hello as well.
I will. I think people are probably sick of hearing about our turkeys. Your turkeys.
Nah, well, who cares? We don't do this for them.
That's right, we don't.
Oh, wait, delete.
Nice.
I'm gonna leave that one in there, I think.
I think you should. People know how you really feel.
Right? Exactly. All right, man. I think we're gonna wrap it up here, and wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, I hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. And if you liked it, great. Give us a thumbs up. If you didn't, give us a thumbs down. Leave a comment. I don't care. Just do something and, subscribe, because that would be nice. It would be helpful. It helps us reach more people. And, we've gotten good feedback from the people that we have reached. So, hey, help a brother out. Two brothers. Help a bunch of brothers out. Help all the brothers out. Brothers? Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Thank you
I
for
like
spending
it.
your time with us. We know you could be doing multiple other things, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much. See you on the next one. Later.